Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video we're going to be building a British inspired bungalow in The Sims 1. We are building on 6 Sim Lane, and it's funny because I feel like most British homes in real life tend to be quite close together and there doesn't tend to be a ton of space in between houses. So maybe The Sims American suburban world doesn't make a ton of sense for this kind of house, because in a way I feel like all the lots are quite big and they all have plenty of space for a front garden and a back garden. Lots of British houses don't really have a front garden, at least. They're quite often very close to the road. But I feel in the case of this house, I wanted to make it more of a large bungalow. So maybe it makes a little bit more sense in the Sims world, and it kind of fills up the whole lot where maybe a typical British bungalow wouldn't. In terms of the feel of the overall house, I'm taking a little bit of inspiration from the Meadowlark home, which is one of the pre-built Maxis houses in Old Town. It's all on one floor, it's quite spread out, and there's kind of quite a bit of space to have a lot of Sims if you wanted to. I mean, the initial room configuration and layout in the Meadowlark home is a little bit strange, I think, and I don't really like the floor plan of that house to begin with, but I think if you make a few changes, it's definitely big enough in terms of size for a family. So I kind of wanted this house to be similar in that way. There's quite a large entryway that kind of curves round through the center of the house, and on the right hand side of the entryway you've got a set of 3 rooms, which are kind of the main living areas. Then you've got the main bathroom pretty much right in front of you when you come in the front door, although the front door is actually on the side of the house, so you technically have to turn left. And then you've got 2 doors leading out to the backyard, and then the 2 bedrooms on the left hand side, one smaller bedroom probably for a child, or I almost imagine for maybe a teenager. And then the main bedroom is at the back of the house, and it has its own small ensuite bathroom, very small ensuite bathroom. And then as well as the main rooms of the house, I wanted to have a proper garage, because even though there's no cars in the vanilla version of The Sims 1, I feel like it's nice to have a house design that includes that, because it just feels quite realistic. I think at least a home of this size, I think if you had a very small bungalow, you wouldn't necessarily have a garage. You'd maybe have a driveway, or I guess in many cases it's kind of normal to park on the street where the lot isn't big enough to park a car. I wanted to use the garage for fun activities, because I thought, even though it can't be used to actually have a car in it, it doesn't mean it can't be used as a space at all. So I put the table football object in there, as well as a workout bench and an easel for painting. There's a narrow hallway in between the 2 bedrooms that leads down to a door that gives you access to the garage, because there's no access from the front of the house, because the garage door is not really a door. So it's still a functioning room that Sims can access. And I think it would also be kind of a useful place to have a washing machine and a tumble dryer. Then the 3 main shared living areas are the front room, the kitchen, and the dining room. Originally, I kind of thought about having the living room right at the back of the house with access out into the backyard, but I thought it maybe made a little bit more sense to have a full dining room next to the kitchen, almost as part of the same room, because it's not fully shut off from the kitchen. There's a 2-tile gap in between the 2 rooms, so Sims can get from the kitchen where they've prepared their food to sitting down in the dining room quite quickly and easily, hopefully. And then it's the living room that's actually a completely separate room right at the front of the house. It's quite a spacious room, and I wanted to keep it spacious so it's not filled with lots and lots of furniture. It just has a 3-seater couch and 2 armchairs and a TV, a bookcase. There's a cuckoo clock on the wall, I think if you wanted to, you could use this room as a bedroom because it is quite large. And even though it's right at the front of the house, it's also off to the side a little bit from where you walk in. And I guess because the house is a bungalow, none of the rooms are really very far away from the front door. So there isn't this sense of the bedrooms need to be upstairs out of sight because they're not being accessed as frequently. I think it would completely make sense to switch around where the bedrooms are if you wanted to. Because the hallway area is quite spacious, I wanted to try and make some kind of a use for it other than just it being an empty room that simply connects to all the other rooms. So I decided I wanted to have a desk with a computer and a fish tank and also a keyboard. So even though the house doesn't have a designated study, it's kind of doubling up as a study. If you had just 2 adult Sims who were living here, then you probably wouldn't need to use the second bedroom as a bedroom. And I think that room is large enough to turn into a study if you wanted to. When I was building, I really imagined the second bedroom as being for a teenager. And then I kind of stopped myself and thought, well, hang on a minute, we don't have teenagers really in The Sims 1. So I think it would just have to be for a child, but it could also be for maybe an adult sibling or a family friend who has moved in. I didn't add any specific objects for children, like a toy box or an outdoor climbing frame. But I think there should be just enough space to be able to do that if you did have a child living here. There's kind of 2 different parts to the backyard. There's the main exit from the hallway that leads out to a patio area with a grill and some recliners, and your Sims can kind of just sit there and chill and look at the trees. And then when I was adding a few objects in the garage, I thought it might be cool to have a back exit from there as well that leads out into a small vegetable garden. It's a little bit secluded and just surrounded with a picket fence. I feel like it might be quite a nice place to go and just have some quiet alone time, maybe away from your spouse if they're getting on your nerves. The overall cost of the house ended up being 50,416 simoleons, so it's not even close to being a starter home. But it's not ridiculously unaffordable, I think, considering the size and the fact that it is fully furnished. I will leave a link in the description where you can download this house if you want to add it to your game. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.